There we go.
Welcome back to the Fitz and Franson Show. And today you guys can see that Matt is not in his normal office setting. He is in the backwoods sticks of rural Wisconsin. So that might not be completely accurate.
It's pretty close.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, it's kind of cool out here, though. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love the woods. You guys are connected how? Why don't you give me a little bit of backstory? And Matt, you can do an introduction to our guest, Bill.
Yeah. So, this is Bill Willcome, and Bill and I met, it's been a couple years ago now. We had an opportunity to be on a panel together at a Jacuzzi conference where Bill was a manager and I'll let him do a more thorough introduction of himself here, but he was a sales manager, a leader for a very well-known organization here in Wisconsin, and we were both on a panel together for Jacuzzi. They were holding a dealer conference meeting, and people were picking our brains, and we kind of recognized that, shockingly enough, we had a very similar brain on a lot of things, which is probably very scary for mostly our wives. I would venture.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. So shared a couple of ideas and hit it off. We have good personalities and hang out well together, but also from a professional standpoint, I've learned a lot from him over the last several years, and helped train some guys together as well too. So, but Bill, please share with everybody a little bit about your background and and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So again, likewise, the friendship has been there, the training and the collaboration has been there. Anytime that I come up with any type of ideas, I got to run past Matt first to make sure it's not, too out of the scope of things, right? But yeah, so my background is a little unique on a standpoint of, prior to this, I used to be a welder in a factory. So I did welding for about 10 years before I ventured into the in-home sales aspect and home improvements. Ironically enough, I became a customer first of the company that I went on to work with. The company that I worked for was Tundra Land Home Improvements, and I started off there as a sales rep. Like I said, a customer first. So I got to see the customer aspect, the inner workings of those days. And once I joined the organization, solidified that I made the right choice even more after joining the organization. So I was a sales rep there for a few years, then became their sales manager for the last 7.5, almost 8 years before I ended my stint there as their VP of sales. So again, very familiar with the home selling process, very familiar with Jacuzzi. We did Jacuzzi, bathroom model decks. We did windows for a while, and then that branched off into Renewal by Andersen windows and the northeast side of Wisconsin as well too. So very familiar with the in-home selling process, and absolutely fell in love with it. And kind of a funny thing, when I was a welder, you put your helmet down, you talk to yourself 12 hours out of the day, right? And then I get home and I talk my wife's ear off. So she's really happy now that I get to talk to other people. So when I come home now, we get to have actual conversation. So it's really good. It's really good.
Jen, one of the things I was excited for him for Bill to get to meet you, and I think one of the things that you guys will connect on, Bill has a really good ability, or really great ability, I should say, of connecting with his people, right? And I think one of the things that I've learned a lot from him over the last several years, and still am working on to be better at in my career, is Bill did a really great job of not just creating a high-powered sales team, like very efficient sales team, but he did a great job of developing layers of leadership inside of the sales team and developing the people, right? And you talk a lot about that in your organization, about, it's about the people and investing in your people and those kinds of things. And, one of the things that Bill and I talked about initially, I think on that first meeting that we had in Arizona, I think it was, right? That he had this program that he was running, and part of that program was quarterly or something like that. You had dinners where you had those people that were in that position came over here for dinners, right? And that's something I had never heard leaders do before, right? For their future leaders, right? They were investing in them from a not just like an X's and O's standpoint, but from that level of like connection and personal, personalization. So that's a really cool thing. So
Yeah.
like I said, I'm excited for you guys to get a chance to talk and pick each other's brain a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. And you learned how to do those while welding, talking to yourself behind your welding mask?
Well, this probably isn't the best advice, but you had to wear earplugs, in the shop, right? Mine happened to be, headphones that I had in my head. So as I'm, welding, talking to myself for 12 hours a day, I was listening to personal development books. I was listening to sales books. Even as a welder, I still knew that if somebody was giving a tour of our plant, like, that was still sales, right? So I had to make sure that I knew my product, I knew my craft, what I was doing. So if somebody who was looking at, we built fire trucks and military vehicles and things like that. So any type of client that came in looking to possibly purchase these things, if they stopped by me, I needed to be able to sell, and that was, just knowing my product, knowing what we were doing, and knowing our company's mission. And that, was the personal development aspect. I just had a huge passion for personal development and how that could get me to the next level of whatever that was that I was chasing.
Sure. Was there a piece of material, a book, a podcast, whatever, that got you motivated to leave welding and join a sales organization?
Oh, that's a great question. My first personal development book, it apparently didn't take much. My first personal development book was The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. It's a great book. It's a fictional book, but it talks about the seven secrets to success, and it's just a great book. And I would listen to it. It's like a good movie. It's like a 5-hour book. But again, if I'm welding for 12 hours, I got to listen to that thing, twice if I wanted to. But what it did though is it just got me thinking that there's more out there. Right. It's not just getting to the shop at, 5 a.m. and punching out at 3:30 in the afternoon. Like there's more that I could do. There's more that I could chase. It started opening up my mind to what else could I do? Which was the biggest thing. But it was amazing that that one book, I'll never forget that. Just got me thinking. It opened it up, and it got me, saying yes to more things, even though it was uncomfortable. It got me saying yes to more things.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt and I really like comfort. Yeah, we're big proponents of comfort. We don't like discomfort. Alamish.
Yeah. I like it at the end of the day, right? Sitting on a nice comfy couch, but during the day being uncomfortable is a good thing. There's no bad. So, Bill, walk us through, or, I know your story, but walk Jay and the rest of our audience through. Most people look at what we do. You sign up for a job that doesn't pay anything, that sends you into strangers' homes, and says, let's meet a stranger, and 2 hours later ask them for thousands of dollars.
Yes.
How do you go from, not necessarily a cushy job where you're welding all day, but a job that's got a salary, that's got benefits, I'm sure that help pretty good, to coming home and convincing your, family that I'm going to take this job that doesn't pay anything and go in a stranger's house?
Well, to level that up, and make it a little bit more crazy, when I said yes to this opportunity, again, I was welding, making $24 an hour, right? So that's a good wage. I was on a pace or at a point where I was about to have 5 weeks vacation. I was at a point where if I don't make a change now, I'm a lifer. I'm gonna stay here, right? Like, so I was at that point where I was being inspired just enough to take the leap. And when I took that leap, my son was a month and a half old. So he was born on New Year's Day, 2017. And then a month and a half later, I said yes to the opportunity to a full commission sales position. And I had my wife's full support. And that was probably the biggest key factor, was having her support. Because as long as I had that, I know I can move mountains, right? And then in doing so, what was really cool is when I started selling, it was my 5th appointment. I'll never forget it. I actually sold a gentleman. His name was Bill. So we hit it off right there. But I made more money in that one commission that I did in 2 weeks of welding. And after 3 weeks of selling, my wife was able to put in her 2 weeks notice at her job. So she was able to be a stay-at-home mom. And then I just continued seeing success there. But I had a huge why. Because if I would have chose to stay where I was, again, I'd have been working. I was working a weekend shift at that time, so it would have been Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was working during the day, and my wife was working Monday through Friday, also during the day. So we would have only seen each other at night.
Yeah.
So it's I had a huge why, but yeah, it was putting all my cards on the table.
Yeah. I have another good friend of mine in the industry, and he and I were managers together. And when we were interviewing people, he used to flip when we decided we wanted to hire somebody. And he used to say that, hey, let me tell you why this is the best kept secret in America, this position, right? And it's stories like that's why he believed that. And
Yep.
I steal that line now. I use that anytime we're talking to somebody and interviewing somebody for one of our clients and helping them out with that process. That you hear stories like that all the time. It takes a big leap, and it takes a great support system to make it work, because it takes a little while to get it going, and it takes some failure at first too, for sure. But man, there's some dreams and things that can be realized.
To your point too, when I made that shift to a full commission sales job, there was some close friends that I had at my old employer that was like, I can't believe you're going to do this to your family. Like they didn't see it. They didn't see the vision. They didn't see the possibility, what could happen. They've already made that decision where they're going to sit and stay, and that's going to be their life. And that's fine, but
Yeah.
that's what's right for them. I was listening to too many of those books that had me dreaming, that had me thinking bigger, right? That was like wanted to paint a better picture for me and my family, and it's worked, and we've been able to help impact a lot of lives along the way too. So it's been very rewarding, not just for our own internal family, but for all the families we've been able to help as well too.
Super cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I've noticed too that the biggest supporters of us are the people that are moving forward with us.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's nothing wrong with somebody choosing to be a lifer in a job, but they're going to be the ones that tell you not to do it.
Right.
And you got to be careful who you listen to when you're taking a risk. A lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, they need to have the right people speaking into their lives, or it's pretty discouraging pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a lot of owners and managers, leaders that listen and watch our show, and they're trying to grow and expand, and doing so they got to bring in more talent. And I know some of the things that Jay on the marketing side, when he's hiring people, and us on the sales side when we're hiring people, there's a thought process of, oh well, I go hire somebody that's in the industry, then I don't have to do as much training. They're up and going. But I think all of us would agree that there may be a lot of bad habits with that, and sometimes there's value in finding somebody that's moldable, right? And you can teach. What would be, I guess, advice that you would give to some of those people about, hey, if you're looking for somebody, these are qualities that I would look for when I was hiring people.
Yeah. So my view on that might be a little skewed just based on my own personal experience, right? Because I came from welding, right? I didn't have any previous sales experience, passion for personal development. That's what I had. So I always think if somebody was strict on needing that experience or needing somebody who's been there before, I wouldn't have been given that opportunity, right? So that's something I always try to keep in mind. It's nice to make sure you have somebody that comes in with experience, because there is a little bit of advantage there because they already have been in a home. They might have some of that, but to your point, there could be some bad habits that you need to break too. And as you're trying to scale, it can be more beneficial at times to have somebody that is coachable, holdable, and hungry, right? So if you have someone that you can work with, and they're willing to learn, they're willing to be coached, and willing to grow with you. I think that's just as important then as also having experience. So yeah, really the first thing I always look for was, can I work with this person? Will we jive? Right? Because if we're not going to jive, if I know that right away, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah. You got to be able to speak to them and work with them on a daily basis, because that's personalities are going to clash, and they don't fit in with the team. That's that whole culture thing goes to goes to the side for sure.
And when you're looking to scale too, if that's your goal, you need to have those unified processes in place. And if you got somebody that comes in with experience and does their own thing, and then you send a newer rep or somebody that's coachable on a ride along with that rep that's doing their own thing, it's going to be really hard to scale if they're not on your process. So having that unified process is important. And sometimes that that shark or whatever, that person with experience that does their own thing, they might get you a couple deals or extra deals, but it's going to be hard to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And being able to discern that stuff early on is like you said, you need to know what you're looking for, and then you can see through it pretty quickly. Yeah, I'm highly relational. I came out of bus driving. I was at 18 years as a commercial bus driver. Started outside of high school. It was a way to pay for college. And then I met my wife and got married, and we had kids, and our shop went union, and wages went up and benefits went up. And when I left our shop, I was number 5 on seniority out of over 80 drivers. I was very good at my job. I was comfortable in it. I was a leader. They gave me new hires to train. And when I got offered this position at Powerful Media, I kind of laughed because my friend owns the company and he hired me. And I said, "Why are you picking me to run a marketing agency?" And he goes, "I want to work with adults and I want to work with you." And I was like, fair enough. Because similar to you, I wasn't wearing a welding helmet, but I had a little Bluetooth speaker that would sit on the headrest of my bus driver's seat, and I would listen to podcasts and audiobooks.
Yep.
And I'm just fascinated with personal development and team dynamics and stuff like that. And so, yeah, we would have super high level conversations. And then he's like, "Why are you driving bus?" So a question for you, how many times a year do you think about going back to welding?
Well, and not going back. I think about it, I mean, as a welder, one of the things that's always kind of, it's always kind of goofy, if you see something that like a swing set or something, right? And you see a weld, obviously I'm going to criticize that weld, who did that, like I could do that, But I think of like everything that entails the welding, the fumes you breathe in when it's 100 degrees outside, it's even warmer in front of that porch, So there's a lot of sacrifice that went into it too. But I don't think about going back at all. It's I enjoy talking to people too much.
Yeah. So Jay, when I got off the plane finally, as I was joking with you before I got here, like, don't ever fly with me because I'm snake bit right now so bad it's not even funny. But so driving up here, I drove past the Tundra Land office, so most of our people in our industry have heard that Tundra Land story. It's a pretty well known organization in the home improvement world, and Bill was fortunate enough to be part of that growth and journey. So, and I'm sure people are curious to know, what it takes to build an organization like that. And you were a critical part of helping to build that. So building a high performing sales team and obviously you had some help and really good support system around you, but you were a key part in developing those salespeople in that organization. So if you said, hey, there are, these are, 3 to 5, critical things that I think we did here that were, key to those successes. Well, what would be a couple of those things?
I think that, we kind of started this conversation already a little bit. I think the number one thing is probably the people.
Yep.
And then that's for all, not just the sales team, but that's for, every department. I mean, there's some people that were key pieces to the organization that we brought on because we thought, we don't know if they're going to be the right fit for sales. But they need to be here. Right. So, there was, if we knew we had the right person, we would bring them into that role. We would coach them. We would teach them. I know I've heard, Brian say it a lot of times as, early on, we were very much a marketing organization that did construction. Right. But, we eventually became, the place where we developed people. So that's probably the biggest thing, is be able to, I look at my time there as, I went to, Tundra Land University is what I did. Is I got a lot of experience doing a lot of things there, and it really was because the people there were the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. What, you know, a lot of the dealers that Jay and I are working with right now are in that, probably that like, preteen stage, I would say, Jay, probably of like their growth period right now. Probably the right way to say it. There's certainly a lot of dealers that we're working with too that are beyond that, but that they're trying to bust through kind of those painful points of their growth spurts, so to speak, right now. And we've both been through those in the organizations we've been with. One of the things that I know I'm working with a couple of dealers on, I know Jay is as well too, is kind of understanding the importance of your numbers, right? And
Yes,
we talk a lot about our people, and they are the, what I would say, like they are the end of your story, right? They are the foundation of your story.
Yeah.
But I know you're with me on this, that sorry about that the numbers are kind of like the start of your story. How often are you looking at numbers?
every day.
Yeah.
We would have a daily pacer that we would we would put in our numbers and make sure that we knew what numbers we had to hit today.
Yeah.
And if we didn't hit them today, what we had to hit tomorrow. If we exceeded those numbers, not that we took the foot off the gas, but let's continue. Like, how can we hit those numbers? I would actually, every night I would text my sales numbers to Brian, to our president and our president of sales too. I would text our demoed, sold, or our issued, demoed, and sold numbers, and what our total dollar amount each day was after every lead was resulted. And it's not that because they needed me to send the numbers to them. Again, it was the coaching, the teaching aspect that they were instilling this into us, is because they wanted us to make sure that we knew our numbers, right? That practicing of knowing our numbers. If they wanted to see what the numbers were, they had access to our CRM. It's not like they needed us to text it to them, but that's why they had us doing that, is because it was good practice for us to always know our numbers, and that was a KPI to make sure that we knew them.
Right.
And another thing on that too, with like the growing aspect of making sure you have the right people, is depending on what stage you're in too, you might have the right people right now for the stage that you're in. But as you continue to grow, those KPIs are going to change a little bit. You might notice that your closing percentage needs to be, the minimum performance standards is going to need to be raised. If it's consistently at a set number, and then all of a sudden you're like, what, we're growing, so we need to raise that bar a little bit. You might find that the people that you have now too might not necessarily be the people you need at that next stage, right? Because they have to be willing to get to that stage with you, and that might mean they need more training. They need to raise their level of expertise. As you continue to grow, the people that you had at $1 million might not be the people you need at 5 or 10. They have to have that right mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a difficult conversation to have with those individuals. And some of them make it through that, and some of them don't. And it's nothing personal, right? There's good people that unfortunately sometimes the business outpaces them, for sure. But, good leaders and good coaches will make sure that they're having those conversations early and often, because they're on top of their numbers from day one, right? So,
right.
It's an interesting thing. And I know when you and I were talking early in those days, that was something that you introduced to me, that I had our managers and our leaders start doing on a nightly basis, texting to us. And what was funny is I found out that they started having their reps, even though they're doing nightly results, where they're supposed to do nightly results, right? That they started having them, cool, you're going to text me. And the response is, well, I do a result. Yeah, I know, but you're also going to text me. I was 2 for 2 today. I was 1 for 2 today for this much. And I had, no demo, this one party, whatever kind of thing. And it's, where you are for the week, where you are for the month, where you are for your pace, that kind of thing. It's, everybody's on top of your numbers, why they matter and what they affect and all the things down the line.
Yeah, because it's a trickle-down effect on that too. I mean, I'm sending those numbers to my higher ups, right? But if my sales rep hasn't resulted his lead and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm waiting on them to result that lead. Are they still in the home? Did they just forget? So now I'm texting them or trying to call them to have them result their lead. And so now guess what happens from that effect? Nobody wants me calling them at 10 o'clock at night anymore after they forgot to result their leads. Now, all of a sudden, all my leads were starting to get resulted when they were supposed to be, right? So it really helped out, just that trickle-down effect all the way through the business of making sure things were done on time.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Jake, because it has this effect of that we're all trying to drive towards too. Of yes, it starts with a number, but now you have a manager checking in on somebody at 9:30 at night, going, "Hey, I didn't see a result. Is everything okay? Are you still in a house?" Man, that's a long time to be there. Like, let's get together. Let's talk about this, because you shouldn't have to be there that long. Or maybe it's a one-off and it was, the older gentleman that just needed a buddy to talk to that night. And, thanks for taking the time to talk to that person. And even that little thank you, like, goes a long way, because they didn't get home until everybody was asleep. And, they gave up that night with their family, and that meant something to them to hear from somebody else in the organization, because everybody else was asleep or at home with their family, which is a big deal. So it's good stuff. And, and on the marketing side, Jay, you do that stuff too with your people. I know I'm sitting in on the meetings and everybody's going through those things and talking about it. Your leaders are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the phrases that I like about businesses is a well-run business is a boring business. And whether it's personal or professional, establishing routine and healthy habits, right? The phrase, what you focus on improves, right? I think I maybe said that phrase wrong, but it's absolutely right. Establish a routine. And what we notice as leaders is the more consistent the workflow is for our employees, the more secure they feel.
Yeah.
And Matt and I talked on a previous episode where he said, you should never have an employee that you let go be surprised that they're being let go.
Right.
They should have seen it coming from, months away. And it is true. It's sometimes I get tired of the numbers. I'm like, oh man, I've seen these numbers before. And it's like, no, this is established routine, and this is how we make sure that with confidence we produce consistent good results day after day.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a manager at one point, come into my office and he was fired up about something. I may have told this story before, but he was fired up about something, and we got a big problem, and hair's on fire, and calm down. Okay, let's talk about it. We'll go through it. And, and halfway through it, I turned the screen around and I said, so, the percentage is here. And he was like, oh, and I said, yeah. I said, so do you want me to focus on 10% of our leads or the other 90% of our leads? I said, better yet, do you think the reps want me to focus on 10% of our? I'm happy to do it if you want me to do it that way. But, why do we ask the question? He goes, no, I don't think we need to ask the question. I said, okay. And then the running joke was like, if you're going to go in and like talk to Fitz about, an issue, you better know the numbers, because he knows them like the back of his hand. Right. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, what I was trying to establish for our team was like, the expectation that like we all know our numbers, we know what the expectations are. And if we all know what they are, then we all know if we're performing where we're supposed to be performing. And if we're not, then we know the gap that we got to close. And that's a good thing. Like if we know the gap that we got to close, then we can figure out what it is that's keeping us in that gap, right? And let's get it fixed together. So, yeah, it's cool stuff. So now, Bill, you're, I know we transitioned, out of Tundra Land, and you're still working with a lot of my favorite people over there. It's gone from One and Fun to One Click now.
Yep.
And you guys have expanded, the offering and kind of, made it an all-inclusive platform, right? And it's a nice segue because we're talking about numbers. But in the pen tech world, I've probably become known as the guy that only talks about financing. Jay, is that fair to say?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think now at this point, sales reps probably roll their eyes when I come into the room, like, oh, we're going to talk about financing.
Yeah.
But it's more than that, right? Because financing is one of those numbers that you look at. So talk to us a little bit about like what you do with One Click and kind of what the what this transition is that you guys are going through.
Yeah. So, kind of the one thing, you think about what we're always looking for in the home improvement space is kind of that one platform to help us minimize our tech stack. I know that was something that we were always looking for when I was at Tundra Land is, one place to have my sales reps log into and then hopefully not have to leave and, just be able to stay there. And it has to capture so much data as well too. But yeah, back in the start of Q2 here, we merged our businesses with One Click Contractor. So now we're able to provide that tech stack, right? Everything from CRM estimating tool, just came up with an awesome price presentation tool as well too that'll actually warm up the application on the One and Fun platform. So really be able to offer that whole suite to our dealers to make sure that this process is simple for our sales reps. And the more confident a sales rep is in that technology, in those steps, the more that's going to help them close more deals, right? So being able to have that, and you can have those as standalone products as well too. So you can be a product of the One Look platform with One and Fund, or just use the estimator. But ideally, you have that one tech stack to minimize your tech for your sales reps.
Right. And I know, so Jay, it's kind of funny talking with you because your people, right, at that powerful, it's pretty amazing. If you actually sat and watched the marketers that work for Powerful Media, they're great on Facebook and Facebook Messenger and setting leads and getting all of these appointments created by watching the communication and talking to these customers and getting them set. But they're doing it for all these individual companies.
Okay.
And then they're doing it and setting them on all of these individual CRMs, right? So different processes, different times. This company can do it this way. This company can do it that way. It's kind of a training nightmare, right, Jay? Is that fair to say? Like so many new companies, it's like, I mean, I'm speaking for you, but is that fair?
Yeah, I use the term fire hose a lot when training.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that we're all like striving for is if we had a way to, to keep somebody to simplify our training processes, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know that's something that you've done really, really well, not just with, One Click, but, in your entire career. And, if you were, coach another leader on, keys to a training process or keys to, clear communication in the training process, because that's what you do now, right? And, you're the director of dealer success, right? Which is a fancy way of saying, like, I teach people how to do simple things, right? Or do it simple rather, right? Give us kind of those keys or those foundational things to training that you think are important.
I think kind of hit it there is the clear communication, right? I'm not, by no means in this role do I ever want to blow up a sales process or anything like that, right? But how can I add value? How can I get some nuggets that are easily able to be implemented into a process? But again, I think back to like the sales manager days. We had a 6-week rolling or rotating training where we knew, and I do stuff similar now with my trainings, but we knew this week that we were going to be focusing on, intro and agenda. Next week was going to be production training. The week after that was going to be company story and closing. The week after that was going to be financing. But every 6 weeks we rotated those training schedules. Well, guess what? Guess what my team knew? They knew what was coming. So they started to actually come prepared, knowing that next week intro and agenda's coming. You better be role playing because we're going to, right? So these things were communicated. They knew the schedule. Now that topic might change a little bit, but if like the topic that week was discovery, because that discovery could be a financing training as well too, because I'll train to when do you introduce financing? Discovery is a great place for you to introduce it right away with the 3 bucket question, right? So so your discovery training that week could be a financing training together too. Your topic could change, but the overall theme for that week is going to be the same. But your sales team knows ahead of time what you're going to be training on.
Yeah. Jay and I talk about this a lot. And Jay, we were talking about it last week even, that, you know, we get asked quite a bit, like, what's the secret? What makes the top person, or the top company, the top company? And I kind of will jokingly, and not even jokingly, I will say, like, you're going to be disappointed with my answer, because it's not this like earth shattering thing. It's pretty basic. You've got to do the basics continually over and over and over and over and over and over again. And, when I would hire managers, or, other managers would come in and, train with me when I was at Renewal by Anderson, or some of these other places, I would tell them, like, just so you're aware, you've signed up for a life of repetition. Like, you're going to say the same 5 things over and over and over again. So if that's not for you, then this life isn't for you. So, right. Yeah, and you're going to try to reinvent the wheel. Basically, you're just going to flip it back and forth, so you see different sides of it from week to week. That's like how you make it shiny and new every week, right?
I would tell the team when I start the sales training, I was like, my role is, guys, is that I am here to make sure you understand the fundamentals. When you leave the meeting today, I need to know that you can do a proper introduction. I need to know that you can set the table and do a proper agenda. I need to know that you can do the fundamentals, because you were hired to do the fundamentals, but you were also hired because we saw something in you that, you had a spark that you could bring, an extra level that you can bring to add to the fundamentals. But first of all, you need to know the fundamentals.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, we at Powerful try and simplify it down as much as possible, and it's always nuanced. But I tell my team, your job's really easy. What's the project? What's the condition? Where's it located? Can I send someone out? And then there's all the nuances around that. But I say, you need to have this ingrained in your head that this is the way you do it. And it simplifies it, it lays it out. But then we're very repetitious here too. We go through more of like a quarterly cycle where, every 12 weeks, you kind of repeat the same stories. What do good conversations look like? How do you handle the phones? And go through that stuff on a regular basis. It's funny, as humans, we have so much going on between work and home that it's easy to forget the basics.
Yes,
yeah.
Sure.
Matt and I have talked about it quite a bit. If a sales guy's numbers drop off, he probably forgot one of the steps, or she did, right? It's like, all right, let's remind each other about what the steps are again.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what One Click Contractor is doing in the home improvement industry? Or maybe, actually, let's flip that. What are you seeing your customers, what are they asking you for? What's the pain? What's this thing?
Well, it's a couple things. I said one of the biggest things is, you kind of mentioned in the very beginning was data. What kind of, how can we forecast? Because that it's kind of all encompassing in a standpoint when you think about that, right? You mentioned you had a 12 week rotating training schedule. I had a 6-week rotating schedule. We also have our seasons that we're in, right? So we were having conversations back, what was it? I think it was right before the election.
Yeah.
When leads completely dropped, right? And all of a sudden I'm calling Matt and saying, Matt, what is going on with your results right now? Because the data is showing that, you're not getting any approvals. Like what's going on? Like, and it's not that you're not getting a lot. Like it was something significant, right? So just with that data that we were able to see, that we were able to provide, you were able to figure out that it was a lead aggregator that was bringing back not the greatest profiles, right? And we were able to make adjustments on that standpoint, and you're able to make that shift rather quick.
Yep.
Right. So the data is kind of all encompassing, because I never would have thought that, you could take financing data and apply it to marketing as much as you can, which, we're saving dealers money now on their marketing spend, which is really cool because of the data that we're able to provide. We talked about training. How do we, maximize our training, but minimize what we're spending our time on? With having our financing platform, we have multiple lenders on that platform, right? So I remember when I would launch a new lending app with my sales team, I had to take off that entire sales meeting so they knew how to utilize that one application. So I wasn't taking a bunch of phone calls, later that night, because they didn't practice enough or they didn't know how it worked, right? Oh, the way that the platform works is the front face of it never changes. So that process for the sales rep will never change. The only thing that might change is if they add a new lender and what their step is, whether that's a DocuSigned agreement or going to the portal to activate the loan. So now to train a dealer on a new lender is about 15 to 20 minutes instead of an entire training. And one of the things that was always ingrained in my mind is if you think about the cost of what one of your sales trainings is, when you block off all your sales reps to show up that morning for that sales meeting, that's the amount of value that you need to bring them in that sales meeting. So you figure 10 reps, figure your average order, if it's, 10,000 for, and you just easy math, that's $100,000 training you're putting on for your sales team.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're spending it, training the team on a new app and not on sales theory like you might be wanting to, or, fundamentals like you need to, that's huge.
Yeah. You bring up a good point there though with like data-based decision making, right? So with it's really we were talking a little bit before we started filming today. As companies are growing, right? When you're $1 million business, and that's nothing to shake a stick at. You've done a great job. You took a leap of faith and you started something for you and your family. You're so connected to every part of your business that you can make feel-based decisions because you feel the pain points and you're around every part of the business. But you get to $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, where most people are trying to get to and want to get to. You can't possibly have a good feel for every part of the business. So you have to have those conversations. So Jay, the thing that Bill's referencing is we were starting to see a little bit of a nosedive in our closing percentage. And, we're looking at a lot of different data points and trying to make really good decisions with sales training about, hey, what are we doing? What are we seeing? And what are our results telling us? And Bill calls me and says, dude, your finance approval rate is tanking. What's going on? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked at it, I was like, we got applications going through, like they're pushing financing, like, what are we talking about? And he pulls it up and he shows me, and what he's showing me is a month over month, what we're looking at is our credit score like mix was significantly out of whack. So immediately what I do is I pull my marketing director in and I go, I want to know what areas. So I want to know by zip codes where all of these came from and lead source where all of these came from. And we can systematically look at this and make a determination. Is it area that we're marketing to? Is it lead source that we're using? Like all of these things we go, and within 5 minutes, we determine it is a lead source, and it's a lead source that's marketing in certain areas. And I said, get them on the phone right now and tell them if they want to keep getting money from us from month to month, they're going to make a change immediately or they're gone. And what was funny is they said, well, this is what we do. And I said, not for us anymore. See ya. Bye. Right. And I think it was like within 2 weeks, we were right back to where we were supposed to be. Now I have to go and have a conversation with my boss, my owner of our company. And I'm really sorry that I didn't notice this before. And that wasn't a pleasant conversation, but at least I was able to say, this is what we recognize, this is what we saw, this is the decision we make, and this is why we're back on track, right? Whereas before it was like, we're trying to figure it out because we think it's this, we feel like it's this, we feel like this is going to make a thing better, but I don't really know what's going on.
Before it's, you think about that scenario, before what happens is those are sales reps that are winning. Those are sales reps that are making sales. Those are sales reps that are not getting paid, right? Then they're not getting approvals, right? So you think about what that does to culture. You think about what that does to the team. They're calling Matt up saying like, hey, Matt, like I'm out here winning, but I'm not getting paid. Send me something good, right? Like it's hurting culture. If not caught in time, you could lose reps.
Yeah. Well, now, Jay, you and I joke about this all the time that you and I are the proverbial cat and dog that hang out together, right? As the marketer and salesperson. But my marketing director gets to walk into the room with salespeople and say, guys, we identified a problem and I've taken care of it. And, walk out of the room and the attitude in the room shifts from, marketing is putting us in a hole and we can't sell these leads to marketing has our back and is taking care of us and recognized the problem and has got it fixed and we're on the right path forward. But beyond that, marketing is looking into this on a daily basis, trying to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen. It will happen, but it won't happen for very long because they check on this regularly.
Right.
If you have the right tools and people looking at this stuff, right? That's what's really critical about it. So it was a really cool thing that we found. I mean, it wasn't cool. It was cool that we found it.
Yeah, because always normally in that situation, you're treading through the mud and eventually you'll get through it because change will happen, right? Eventually. But they probably saved, I would say, at least a month, if not two, before you've just got through it.
Well, I can tell you it was thousands of dollars we were spending on that lead source. So it saved us thousands of dollars and, percentage points of marketing cost. And it saved bonus dollars for our managers, both on the sales side and on our marketing team.
Yeah. So one other thing that dealers will reach out to us asking for is essentially to help us capture everything, like help us capture every deal, right? One KPI that I wish I would have tracked more when I was at Tundra Land, and I'm so glad we focus on it now, is your take percentage. Because approvals are important. Don't get me wrong. You get approvals, right? But it doesn't make a difference if the customer doesn't take the deal, right? So, being able to track that take percentage for each sales rep also, we're able to share with the dealer what their team is, the amount of applications they're submitting, their approval percentage, their take percentage, how many times they're getting that customer to take the deal. And that alone has helped a ton too, because if you think about it, a lot of times the sales reps, maybe they might shy away from like a second look offer because the interest rate's too high, or, it's a new objection that they get that they're not used to overcoming. If we can show a dealer that, hey, you're getting good approvals, but this sales rep could need a little bit of coaching on maybe like second look financing or higher interest rates, that's capturing 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 more deals a month, that a customer said, no to because the interest rate was too high. At least that was the excuse we couldn't get over, right? So now there's coaching that's available, that there's training that's available to help these sales reps take more deals. So just in that, you're not only getting more approvals, but you're getting more deals across the finish line because the sales reps are able to have those conversations.
And that's huge, Jay. I mean, those are people that said yes, that went through the process of filling stuff out, and like just a little bit of air was let out of the balloon, but there's still a balloon filled with air there that like they still want to like walk down the street with, but like the sales rep just doesn't know how to get them out the door and on their way kind of thing. And it's a really simple conversation to have, but it's a deflating scenario that somebody just needs to be there to catch kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and on the marketing side with the numbers, one of the things that we do, and Matt touched on it with training, is I have a full team of schedulers that handle social media inboxes and they do outbound phone calls. And when I talk to a new customer, I say, the most important thing I want to know is conversion rate. And I need to know how many ad dollars I had to spend to put an appointment on your calendar. And if I'm doing the conversions, I know if I'm doing good work because I know what that should be. And a lot of, we're going to call them marketing competitors, they just say, yeah, I can run ads for you for X amount of dollars a month. And I'm like, I can do that too. But then I'm trying to chase you down to tell me if you actually turned any of my leads into sales. And so when I talk to them, I say, I've got a team that's trained on the phones, in chat, to qualify a lead, to get them to raise their hand and say, I want you to come into my home and talk to me about your product. And then I can have really high level conversations with my customers. They're like, hey, lead cost seems high. And I can say, I track all the data. I know how much it costs per message on Facebook or how much it costs per lead. And I know what's converting and what isn't. And this year we had a rabbit hole. We were getting messages for like $8. That's like pre-COVID numbers. I mean, that's ridiculous. But our conversion rate was like 3 to 5% from paid message to booked appointment. Meta had changed their algorithm, and they decided that they favored ads in messages or ads in video. People weren't trying to message us. They were all trying to click that tiny X to close our ad out. And Facebook was like, man, we're crushing it for you. You guys are getting cheap messages. And because I had the entire story in front of me, I actually knew that even though messages were cheap, conversion was just useless. And so I have a Meta rep. I called him up and I'm like, there's a serious problem. And we tracked it down to Meta had changed the placements in their algorithm. And I'm telling my customers, hey, I'm sorry, I'm on top of it. I'm going to figure it out. And luckily, because we track data, we update our stuff every single day too. Every single day, any one of my customers, I can tell them exactly what's happening with their account.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah. That's exciting what you are doing for the home improvement industry. What do you think the next, all right, I'm going to ask you to be a fortune teller here. What do you think the next 3 to 6 months may hold for us?
Oh man. It's something. So the first thing I go to right away is, remembering the season that we're in, right? Like schools are getting started again. This is always a transition period. Family vacations are coming to an end as school's starting. But we're not far off from the next holiday, and then next thing you know, it's we're in Q4 where this year it gets really cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's those are the first things that come to my mind, right? But it's also the importance of capturing everything, because we all know that sometimes when it gets into Q4, beginning of Q1, leads get a little bit lighter, which means they become more valuable and more important to convert. So it's just understanding that process there is making sure we're capturing everything. So when I think about this, it's going to be, focusing on the data, being able to help, forecast. We're able to help convert more of those, second look deals, making sure that they're just capturing everything, because it becomes so important as you forecast into Q1, because before you know it, home show season will be here. And then the busy season of Q1 and Q2 kicks into gear. This is where you go into this quarter with your Super Bowl teams and you're ready to go. You fine tune your processes, you focus on the fundamentals. That's typically, I don't know if that's fortune telling as much, but that's what I'm preparing for, is just fine tuning our processes.
Yeah. I think that's experience talking.
It's a really important thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jay, you're having these conversations, right? I mean, August just, came and went, and
yeah.
I mean, all of us have these conversations because you work with the dealers very similar to the way we work with dealers right now. And it shouldn't be a surprise to me anymore, but I am surprised still when we have these conversations at the end of August, when all of these dealers that we're talking to will go, man, it's really slowing down. What's going on? And we go, well, that's the last couple of weeks of vacation and back to school is happening. And, this should be marked on your calendar every year that this is going to happen, where it's going to get a little bit lighter. Did you start having conversations about how serious the people are that are letting your reps into the home? Because if they're letting them into the home, they're the ones that are really serious about buying. So your conversion rate should be going up right now on sales process. But yeah, the leads are going to be harder to come by because there's a lot more distraction going on right now. But guess what happens after all that settles down? Like, you should be talking to your people about it's buying season. Right now is the buying window before the holiday season, because everybody wants to get it done before the family and friends and all of those people come into town. Then it gets a little slower. That's vacation season for you as a rep, as a marketer, as all that. Like, take your time off. Spend it with your family at that point in time. But like right now, it's money making season for you. Like, get after it.
I was talking to an owner of a company in this area, and this is back in beginning of July. And I said, "Hey man, how things going? How's the team doing? Well, where's your mind at right now?" And he's like, "Man, I'm thinking about how many install crews I'm going to need in December right now. And we're in July, so like it's kind of showing you where he's preparing. Like, so he's on top of it, right? But so when we think about the next 4 months, a lot of these owners, a lot of these dealers should be thinking of, hopefully they're preparing for Q1 at this point, but we need to focus on the now, but preparing for, further ahead.
This was something. So, Bill and Jay, my owner that I used to work for prior to doing what I'm doing with you now. I think it was my second year with them. He came into my office in about July timeframe, and so how, what are we going to do to finish out the year strong? And I said, "Oh, I mean, it's already done."
Yeah, it's in play.
And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I can't do anything to impact the rest of the year. It's already over." And I was like, "I'm already working on next year." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "I mean, I'm still going to run sales meetings. I'm still going to motivate them. I'm still going to do all of those things. But what we have put in place is already finished. Like there is nothing left that we can do to have major impacts on the next 4 months.
Yep.
Day to day, I can have impacts on our people. But like as far as the overall business, what we put in place and planned, we can make and pull some levers here and there to slow things down, turn things up a little bit here and there. But it's like we got to hope that the plan we put in place is going to get us through the rest of the year. Like that's, where we're at.
That's good. Well, we've been chatting for quite a while. I do want to ask a question that maybe you can answer for me, because I talk to a lot of dealers on a regular basis. And when they talk to me about, cost of marketing is really high, I'm struggling over on my side. And then I talk to Matt, and he's the guy that is always rambling about financing. How easy is it to add financing to your business? And do you have some numbers to back up how adding financing to your business improves revenue?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing it's easy to add financing. The biggest thing is you just have to talk about it, first of all, and you have to offer it. Making the two biggest compliances with financing is fair trade lending, making sure you're offering financing to everybody, and truth in lending, making sure that you're discussing the terms with the customer, right? So if we think about that first one, making sure that we're offering financing to everybody, presenting monthly payments is offering financing to everybody. So when you give your price presentation to the homeowner, presenting a monthly payment or that path of affordability is probably the easiest step you can do for just starting out. And then there's other things that you can do for when you should introduce it, how you should introduce it, different coaching things that we can discuss as well too. I mean, it starts with marketing. Are you marketing, financing? Are you saying that you have no interest, no payment plans, things like that? Are you saying that you can get your project started as low as X dollar amount? Things like that will get the phone to ring also. And not only will that get the phone to ring, that's getting a customer to call in with how they're going to purchase already in mind, right? Yeah. So they already thought about like, this is how I plan on purchasing, and that's why I'm calling. Right now, you just got to run your play when you get there. One of the things that that I like to train on too is the offering financing in your discovery. I want to make sure that I get 3 key drivers for my customer. First of all, making sure that asking them in a way that I want to know what the 3 most important things are that to help make sure that this project goes smoothly, right? And typically, a customer is going to tell me that it's got to be durable, it's got to be easy to clean, it's got to be affordable, whatever it might be. And if they tell me that it's affordable, I'll ask them my very next question. And just about every customer is going to tell you that it's affordable. If they don't, ask them if they would mind you adding that to their list of things that are important. Nobody's going to say no to that. And then I'll say that knowing that affordability and value is extremely important to you when it comes to moving forward with this project, typically our customers fall into one of three buckets: cash and finance, fully financed, or cash and credit, cash and finance, or fully financed. What bucket would you put yourself into? And then typically they're going to either choose one of those answers, or they're going to say that they're a cash customer, right, at that point. But there's three truths in our industry, right? And this is kind of shout to John Zimmerman if he's listening, right? But our customers want our product, right? Our customers want our product, otherwise we wouldn't be there. They have a perceived value on how much it's going to cost, and it's typically twice that price, right? So knowing that those are the three truths for industry, when a customer says that they're a cash customer, they're still thinking it's going to be that perceived value of what they think it is. And we know that it's probably going to be twice of what they're thinking. So now if they tell us that they're a cash customer, we just have to drive up their willingness to pay, price condition accordingly, and get them to a point where they're ready to go. And if they did choose one of those options, those three buckets, they've already made a buying decision on how they plan on purchasing. Now, to kind of answer your other question of like what kind of an impact this can make as well too is it's going to increase your average order, just because it's going to be, when you're presenting monthly payments, things become more affordable. You think about how conditioned our consumers are today. If we're not offering financing, we're doing them a disservice, because just about everybody is conditioned to purchase off monthly payments. Believe it or not, you can buy this amazing Crystal Palace shirt that I have to wear today for Matt. You spot big fan. Yeah. Might have lost a bet, but you could buy this really cool Crystal Palace shirt for 3 easy payments on Amazon right now, right? Like, we are conditioned nonstop everywhere to purchase off monthly payments. I asked a group when I was doing a talk once, if they are subscribed to like Spotify, Audible, Disney Plus, HBO, ESPN, whatever. And then I asked everybody raised their hand. I said, "Oh, how do you pay for it?" Everybody said on a monthly subscription. Right. So like everybody is purchasing things off of monthly payments. So, and the reason why is because it's a low barrier of entry to get your project started. I can get my project started for $200 a month. Right. I can get my house, my windows done for, same as my car payment, we're doing our customers a disservice by not having that path of affordability.
Yeah. I have one of my bigger customers was like, if they can't pay cash, they're not my customer. And that was 4 years ago. This year, I think he's kind of leading the charge in finance utilization. Because it was like, oh, I'm missing out.
Yeah. Well, and kind of, I mentioned at the very beginning, I mentioned that I was a customer first of Frontline before I started working there. When my wife and I became a customer, we bought a shower from Tundra Land, and we were newly married. We just bought a house. We just got a dog. We were in our house for 2 weeks. We needed to update our shower, and but when you do those things, like either kids are coming, something house is gonna break, so expenses are coming, right?
Yeah.
And so that I'll never forget we financed our project. We used a 10-year program at 9%. I think it was 9.9% interest. And, we didn't want to pay on anything for 10 years, and we didn't want to pay, 10% interest on something. But the reason we did it was because it provided us a low monthly payment with no prepayment penalty. So it allowed us to get that project started. I think we had it paid off in like 3 years. We put a couple tax return towards it and one of my bonuses, and we took care of it. But the reason we chose that route was because we were able to lock in that low monthly minimum just in case life happened to us. And it's something that I took from you was I looked at we had looked at that interest rate as almost an insurance plan that if life happened, we were going to be okay. Right? If we think about where we all were 5 years ago, we were coming out of a stay-at-home order, coming out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
That was only 5 years ago. So, to think about how much life can happen to you within a small period of time, is something to think about, So when you're setting up your customers for success, make sure you have these conversations with them and get them their path of affordability, because sometimes, a customer that puts half down and maybe half at completion, because they're cash customers, that's a big expenditure, right? That's a lot of savings, a lot of work that customer had to do possibly to save up that money. And it's okay to finance something on a low monthly payment with no prepayment penalty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good.
Jay, awesome. I didn't say anything.
I know. Oh, I wasn't going to ask you, Matt. I'm interested. Wanted to hear what Bill had to say. And it sounds pretty similar to what you say.
I was just saying.
Probably not going to sound too different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has been great. It's been great to meet you, Bill. And even though you're a Packers fan, it's.
I forgot. I might as well. Ready, gotta get ready. Not that they're playing tomorrow or anything, but
We are going to a game together tomorrow, so we will be friends up until kickoff, and then,
yeah,
not so much. So,
yeah. Well, this has been great. Matt, do you want to kind of close us out? Do you have any last thoughts, or just let people know how to connect with Bill or anything like that?
but yeah. So look, I've known Bill and the rest of the team over at One and Fun originally. Actually, I think it was Justin and Jennifer's first customers when we were over at Mr. Fix-It when I was there, and they're really good people. One of the things I like about them, and I'll endorse them, is they're all people that carried the bag into the house, right? So they're great about the training process. Like I said, if you need help and resources beyond just the tools that they offer, they're really good resources beyond those tools as well too. So, but kind of summarizing some of the things here that I think are really important to take away from our conversation today. If you don't know your numbers and you're not paying attention to your numbers, you are definitely missing things, and you're making poor decisions. They're not strong decisions, right? And you're making slow decisions on top of that too. So stay on top of your numbers. In doing so, you'll stay on top of your people and make sure that you're giving them the best chance of success. And look, I can't resist it. If you're not using financing, you're missing out for sure.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you guys. And just a little teaser here at the end. Next week, Matt will be in Rhode Island visiting one of our Pentec dealers, the Stefano brothers. And so he will have their general manager, Liz Berman, on the show, and she is a hoot. It's going to be a lot of fun. So outstanding. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see all our listeners and viewers later.
Hey, thank you. Take it easy, Jay. See you, buddy.
Over.